Hi, friend. Welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. If you're new, hit subscribe and join our warm community because this is Learn English Through Story, where we grow our hearts and our English together. Watch until the end to see how a bent-back widow climbs higher than the strongest man in the village and how one small sentence changes a life. The mountain had a name that tasted like prayer, Heaven Peak. On summer mornings, its top wore a silver cloud like a hat, and on winter nights the wind combed its dark pines until they sang. At the foot of the mountain lay a quiet Chinese village with blue-tiled roofs and courtyards where chilies dried red in the sun. The villagers believed that if they could build a temple at the very top, their prayers would rise faster than smoke, carrying their worries to a place where worry cannot live. But the path up was cruel, narrow, wild. In some places it seemed to disappear into rock and sky. One evening, as the sun fell like a coin behind a ridge, the elders stood in the square and said, "Whoever can build a staircase to the peak will honor themselves and all of us." The square buzzed as if a hive had opened. Chickens flapped. Children ran in circles, chanting the promise like a song. From a front stepway, a young man with shoulders like carved wood and a voice that rolled across the crowd. "I will build it," he said, faster than anyone. He flexed his hands. People clapped. Someone whistled. Mothers smiled at their daughters. "There, that one, he will do great things." Then the crowd loosened, like a knot opening, and an old woman walked forward. Grandmother Lin, a widow whose back had learned the curve of time. She wore a simple gray jacket and carried a cloth satchel faded by years. Her hands trembled as she bowed to the elders. "I will build it too," she said softly. Laughter rose like sparrows from a tree. "Grandmother Lin," someone called, "you can barely carry water from the well. How will you carry a mountain?" Lin's smile was small but warm. "I will carry one stone a day." For a breath, the evening held still. One stone? A day? The idea felt ridiculous and beautiful at the same time, like a candle lit in a storm. And that's when the race began. But who truly was racing whom? What happens when lightning meets a candle? The next morning, the mountain tasted ambition. Wei attacked the slope like a drumbeat. Boom, boom, boom. He strode to the riverbed, lifted stones that looked like sleeping animals, and threw them onto his back. His footsteps hammered the path. Each time he placed a stone, he shouted, "Another step." The sound bounced off the cliffs and came back to him, multiplied. By noon, he had set a line of massive slabs, a ribcage of rock rising from the earth. Villagers stood below, shielding their eyes, praising his speed. "Wei, Wei, our hawk." Meanwhile, Grandmother Lin woke before the roosters, boiled a small pot of tea, and wrapped a single stone in her cloth satchel. It was not a big stone, not even medium. She tied her satchel, put on her straw hat, and began to walk. Step, breath, step, breath. Where the path tilted sideways, she planted her foot carefully. Where thorns reached for her ankles, she whispered, "Not today, little ones," and passed by. At a small bend with a view of the terrace fields, she placed her stone. She pressed it with both palms, as if greeting an old friend, and whispered, "See you tomorrow." By the end of the first week, Wei's staircase was a jaw of stone chewing upward into the mountainside. Lin's work could barely be seen, a few small steps hiding like shy animals among the roots. "Do you see?" People told each other, slicing scallions, washing bowls, tightening sandals. "Strength wins." They didn't say it unkindly. They simply believed what looked obvious. But mountains aren't impressed by what looks obvious. When the drum grows quiet, what music remains? Summer burned gold, then gold turned to ash. Wei woke one morning, stretched, and a dull ache bit the meat of his shoulder. "Rest," he told himself. "I've earned it. I'll carry double tomorrow." Tomorrow arrived with festival and sweet cakes. The day after brought rain, heavy as coins. Triple, then, he promised, "I'll make up for it." His pile of river stones waited by the path, dark and patient. They didn't judge. Stones understand waiting. And Grandmother Lin? On the hottest days, she wet a cloth and tied it beneath her hat. On the windiest days, she walked with a stick and sang an old widow's song to keep her courage from falling out her chest. On the coldest mornings when frost laced the grass like spider silk, she warmed her hands over a kettle and whispered into the steam. 1 stone. Only one today. Then she climbed. One afternoon, Wei met her halfway up. He was carrying a boulder that made his veins stand like ropes in his arms. She was carrying her satchel, humming. "Grandmother," he puffed, "you should rest. This is man's work." She stopped. Placed her stone with the care of someone setting down a child. "Is patience not work?" she asked gently. "Isn't a day a kind of ladder? One rung at a time?" Wei laughed, not cruelly, just young. "I'll see you at the top," he said and charged upward. Thunder without rain. But thunder is quick. Rain takes its time. When pride runs, does a mountain move? Seasons turn like pages. The villagers noticed odd things. A widow's footprints wearing a soft groove into the path. A new step appearing where yesterday there was nothing. Small shifts that rarely make noise. Wei returned to mountain in bursts. Mornings of power, afternoons of applause, then days swallowed by other tasks. Helping his uncle repair a roof, joining friends at the river, sleeping late because the blanket felt heavy with dreams. Each time he returned, he swore he would do twice as much, 3 times, 10. Each promise was a beautiful kite. Each rope slipped his hand. One evening, a storm rolled in from the west. It was a serious storm with a dark blue mouth and teeth of lightning. The villagers pulled their doors tight, but the wind had long fingers. In the morning, the elders climbed to inspect the damage. Many of Wei's great stones, placed fast and proud, had wobbled loose in the rain. Some had slid, bruising the hillside, but the small steps, each nestled with care, were still there, patient as old turtles. The elders said nothing. They didn't need to. The mountain had spoken for them. That night Wei lay awake, a stone of shame in his throat. In his mind he heard Lin's voice, "Isn't a day a kind of ladder?" And he hated how wise it sounded. He punched his pillow and promised the dark, "Tomorrow, I begin again." He did. For a while. How many beginnings fit inside a single promise? Years, yes, years, passed. The village children who had once chased each other in the square now carried babies on their hips. The elders' hair turned the color of old rice. And still every dawn, a small woman tied a simple knot, lifted a stone and climbed. Her legs were not strong, they were faithful. Her breath was not proud, it was steady. She did not shout. She prayed under her breath for the feet of anyone who would one day climb this path. And then one morning, when the plum trees were drunk with blossoms and the air tasted like something sweet beginning, a sound floated down from the top of Heaven Peak. A bell. Pure. Silver. Surprising. The way truth surprises us after waiting politely for so long. Doors opened. Heads lifted. People shaded their eyes and looked up. There was a staircase, clean and certain, threading all the way to the sky, each step a syllable in a long, patient sentence. At the top stood a small temple with white walls, a red door, and a bell that had waited in the storeroom for many, many years. Grandmother Lin, in her plain gray jacket, held the rope. Her hands trembled, not with age this time, but with joy. She saw the village below, little blue tiles, little brown paths, and she cried the gentle tears that old joy makes. The villagers climbed. They climbed carefully at first, then faster, then laughing. Children ran their fingers over the stones. This one is smooth. This one is warm. This one has a mark like a crescent moon. They didn't know that each mark was a morning, each smoothness a winter, each curve a prayer. At the last step, the elders bowed so low the sky could see the tops of their heads. Grandmother Lin, they said, "You were not the strongest, you were not the fastest, but your consistent steps made a highway to heaven." Wei stood behind them, quiet as a late apology. He looked at the staircase, then at his hands. He remembered how the crowd had cheered his first day, and how silence had met his 10th. He approached Lin, bent his proud head, and spoke as if the words were stones he must place carefully. "Talent without constancy," he said, "is thunder without rain. It is noisy, but it cannot feed the earth." Grandmother Lin smiled and placed her small hand over his. "Then let it rain," she whispered. From that day, travelers came from far towns to climb what the maps began to call the Path of Patience. They said there was something peaceful in those steps, as if walking them taught the heart to breathe. Some people climbed for wishes. Some climbed for apologies. Some brought stones in their pockets and left them at the bend with the terrace view. The temple bell learned the names of many kinds of tears. Wei became a different kind of strong. Each morning at dawn he lifted, not boulders, but habits. He helped repair steps loosened by weather, taught children how to fit a stone so it would last, and on evenings when the moon lay like a silver boat on the river, he sat with Grandmother Lin and listened to the day close its eyes. He learned how to live like water, arriving. Years later, when Grandmother Lin's breath grew thin, she asked to be carried up her staircase one last time. The villagers took turns. No one wanted to miss the honor. At the top, she touched the bell rope but did not ring it. "Listen," she said. The wind moved. The pines answered. Somewhere far below, a child laughed. "Do you hear?" she asked. "That is the sound of a stone being placed." Her eyes dimmed like a lantern at dawn. Someone said the bell rang once by itself, a soft farewell. The village kept climbing. The staircase kept holding them. And the mountain kept its hat of cloud pleased, as mountains are pleased by work done in small, honest pieces. So remember this, my friend. You don't need to conquer the mountain today. You only need to carry one stone. Then tomorrow, carry one more. In time, you'll look back and realize the path you're walking is the path you built. But what stone will you choose to carry today? Thank you for spending this time with me. If this story touched you and helped your English, please subscribe, like, and share it with someone who needs a gentle push up their own mountain. I read every comment. Tell me this. What one stone will you carry today? And remember, watch again tomorrow. Let your steps become your story.